So I pick you up, and then you decide to just lie to me how you've manifested about this.
No, I really did. Actually, it's only when I'd left home that I realized I'd not carried the little book. I have this book I call my happiness journal.
Yeah.
And it's like a wish book. Everything I write in there comes to life. So, okay, at first it started as a joke during lockdown. I used to watch some videos about like law of attraction and manifesting. And it's like, okay, let's see what we can get from this. So when I came back home, because I was not in Uganda during lockdown, I came back home and I met a friend you had hosted on the podcast. That was Fahad. And we had a conversation. Yes, and he told me, you'd actually love this space.
Yes.
Yeah, so I decided to write about it. I subscribed that day, checked out the page, used to catch all the conversations. I'm like, I really want to be a part of this. But I didn't know just how people get into that. I didn't even ask him. That was the funny part. I just said, you know what? God, do your thing. I wrote about it. I was like, I would love an episode with the conversations by ordinary people. I'm grateful for this. And then when I saw your text, I'm like,
It's happening. So I said this last year. I was going to tell you, you're probably going to have a full year of manifesting things to life. But speaking of Fahad, that's really my boy. I do not know where he is right now. He's left for some time, but he used to actually work with us.
Yes, he's been quiet for a while.
Yeah, he's also one of the masterminds of one of our podcasts, the Mindspace podcast of mental health.
Yes, I know he's into those kind of conversations. And even when we're talking, that's what we're primarily talking about. And I was telling him the things I'd gone through during campus. And he was telling me, I've also been through crazy things. And I watched his episode here. And I realized I resonated with what he said. Like, so many of us go through shit, but it's like people don't want to acknowledge that they're going through pain. I don't know if it's just a Ugandan thing, because out there, like, there are spaces, people are actually having these conversations. It's raw, it's bare, it's painful. It's like, I got messed up here and here. I went into this here and here. But that's something Ugandans are not really open about.
There's so much stigma around everything here, right?
Yes. You said everything. Money, mental health, sex, finances, even dancing, even in my dance culture. I've had a hard time. At first, I had a hard time adjusting. Because I went to campus in India, and there it's like you can do whatever you want. Because first of all, you're African, you're a foreigner, so which means people are going to accept whatever you're doing. So that's why I started maybe dancing more often. So when I come back, the perceptions and stereotypes people have about dancers. It's like
it's okay. We'll talk about those maybe.
Yeah. So people actually, even my parents were concerned because my mom watches my videos, so she was like, this is loose, like people are looking at you a certain kind of way. And I had to step out of that light and say, you know what, people will always have opinions and perceptions. You can't do much. And just because they're thinking of me a certain kind of way, I can't block my talent and stop. God gave this to me for a reason. It's not out of jokes that I can move my waist like this. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody has like the precision, the accuracy. So it's like, let me do what I have to do. Yeah. And also considering maybe the background.
Yeah, there's also a guy this is just throwing into the professor we've hosted here. Yeah. But has a PhD in dance, strictly.
Love that.
I think he does. He's a professor at MOOC. It's called Mabingo Daniels. There's that episode he's talking about. He's so passionate about dance. And now to him, the idea he wants to do conversations around dance. Conversations then with the dancers, like there are cutaways in the conversations.
And then there's like a dance segment. If we could work together, because
we should. I think right after this pod,
yes,
we'll see how we work together. Because he left the country, but he wanted us to like work something out to like do a channel, and here's what it takes to really see this come to life. Yeah. So that is something.
I love.
But I didn't know. Like, why would anyone go to campus and study dance and then get a PhD in dance?
Now
this is like you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Personally, I didn't study dance.
Yeah.
I studied mass communication. I did specializing in marketing and advertising. But also, during my campus years, I got an episode in my life where I was so broken. I felt I was broken because nothing made sense. You're far from home.
Yeah.
And, the financial climate at that time.
Are you Ugandan?
Yes, I'm Ugandan. Okay. Dimuso.
But you are in India.
For campus. Okay. And for a moment, I felt estranged because it's like, why do I feel like this? My other friends who are also in India, but in other states and other campuses, seem to be doing well. But I was the only one that was throwing up because I don't want to eat. I'm the one who's staying for like 16 hours in my room because I don't want to go out. There was a time I actually didn't sleep for 72 hours because I don't know. I just sat awake. Like I was just sitting like this in my campus room. So it was like, am I broken? So I realized I had to tap into what I used to do, what used to bring me happiness. So I got back into dancing. I enrolled into a mental health space that encouraged performing arts. And that's where I started honing into my craft, like really giving
So the
it
dancing
time.
thing, how does it start with you? Like, is it
It's
from like home when you're a baby?
yes.
And they're paying you, aunties are paying you to dance for them on like
The whole, like everything.
yeah.
So I started dancing when I was very young. I think immediately I could walk. Mom said I was dancing, like straight up. But I also happen to have grown up with asthma. So they saw it as a good thing for us to do. And since we're all girls, our parents encouraged us to do sports, dancing. We would do concerts at home, like full-blown concerts. We dress up and it's like, eh, we're embodying characters. It was so fun. Then our relatives would call us for weddings.
Yeah.
And they're like, you guys come and do something. Come and dance for us. You know, give us some entertainment. And we'd do costumes. It was the whole setup. The whole
What would
setup.
your parents now? What would your mom be shocked right now that you are dancing and doing all these videos?
I think I would owe that to like the culture.
The society.
So, yes, exactly, perfectly. That's it. Because as time goes on, people have forgotten to accept themselves, have forgotten to accept and give credit to their backgrounds. Because at first I also used to shun my dancing. I'd be like, nah. I got into all these other careers. I did customer care. I did front desk assistant. I did marketing assistant in a company. Like all those corporate jobs because I felt like my talent was not worthy of bringing in income. So I had to sit down and ask myself, hold on, what's the background? My parents have been doing this since way back. I've been dancing since way back, singing, entertainment, and arts. Can't I give my inner child some credit and at least give my talent some time? And that's when it became easier for me to start going out, posting videos, getting clients who want to learn and do what I can do. Some concerts, yeah, some stage performances. And it started making sense after a while. I think it's acceptance. As creatives, especially in Uganda, we have this thing where it's like, what I'm doing is just a hobby. It's just, but people are making mad bucks out of it. Okay, I hate to quote the president, but just recently he put out a statement where it was like,
in Uganda.
Yes, our president, His Excellency, and he said, like sports, it's just you're wasting time. Like it's not a real thing. If you're running, it's not a thing. I was like, hold on. By the time the head of state thinks like this, are other people gonna take people, athletes and creatives alike serious? Like, are they going to also want to invest in what talents and skills these people are trying to build? Because athletes out there are getting recognition, they're getting support, of course, and it's a window that's very small. It's a very small window because you're talking about, let's say, 16 years to 24 years old or 25, depending on your health. Maybe some people, if they're really good, they go up to their 30s or even 40s. There are people like that. But it's a lifestyle. It's not just a thing you do after work. No. They are paid in such a way that they don't have to worry about other things.
It's their business.
It's yes.
Yeah, but when you talk about that payment, then it brings in the question on return on investment. If you invested in dance from, let's say, I was talking to Joshua Barak at some point here. So he was telling me he dropped out just because he wants to give music the same amount of time anyone doing, let's say, engineering or what he's going to. So by the time they get out and they're fully blown engineer, he has all this experience in music. And maybe that can pay off.
Oh, I actually watched the episode,
Yeah, but what are the odds?
That it's going to pay off?
Yeah.
I think
mostly because of the culture here. Like, we do not have, from experience, we don't have creatives that have really made it.
That is true.
Yeah, that is like a thing. So even to
they
like
have
a parent,
to go out to make it.
When you bring back Fahad, one of the issues he used to fight, I think, with family was him playing rugby at their expense. Like, you fall sick, the parents have to, like, treat you, all that. Then you miss out of school, and you don't know if the sport is really going to be that beneficial to your career. So most people look at it in that, in terms of investment. Like, if I invest in school, there's so many proven results that, okay, maybe you could get a job and get out and get something. But if you invest in, like, creatives and in skilling,
is it going to be worth it?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. People, I feel we have limiting beliefs concerning creatives, because fine, that is actually true. The scope of success for most creatives in Uganda has been quite either flat, it goes up, then it's very flat. So I think that just goes back to how people view creatives. You meet a dancer, I'm going to talk about dancers. You meet a dancer who looks like they're doing something and they want investors, because the truth is, even out there, the dancers or creatives, they have people, angel investors, they have people in government who actually help them to build their craft. And you're looking at people who had to go through all those years of school. I'm saying 13 to 16 years of boarding school. So they're not really exactly tapped into just how much they're capable of doing, because the time was not quite balanced for their craft. So they're doing this on a whim, basically. They're just getting up and like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But then also look at the opportunities. Like, if creatives are to limit themselves to just Uganda, it's going to be hard for the industry to grow, because out there are spaces and opportunities that are worthy, or should I say they celebrate this very culture. And I'm not saying that there's going to be a sort of brain drain, like run away and establish yourself somewhere. No, it's like reach out to those communities and say, hey, I'm a Ugandan creative doing this. If, let's say, you've reached out to the government, I see the artists, they're like, oh, the government needs to do this. But sometimes it's like, okay, there's an R&B community out there. Let me speak to them and see if they can support an artist like me. I know some urban artists in Uganda who have done that. Because if we sit on our asses and it's like, oh man, the government is not doing this, the government is not doing that, it's like...
So for you, what is, like, your vision like in this whole dance thing?
Okay.
Yeah, let's focus there.
All right.
Like, how have you planned it out? And take me through it. Like, what's it about the dance? Is it relevant outside? Like, if I'm outside, like, a bar, club, do I need... I don't know. The relevance of it all, like I need to
is
understand,
it helpful?
Like, is it helpful for me? Like, is it not just something I need to find in a bar when I'm like, when I
you're
need
just
to go
having
to
fun.
where the dance is.
All right, I do get that. Well, first of all, dance is health. It's health related. The way walking is very healthy for us. Movement and dance is a very key factor that should be in everyone's lives. That's why I told you, like, I do dance fitness. Aside from the sensual or leisure dancing, I mainly also focus on dance fitness, and this is a set of choreographed moves that target particular body parts. So that you find yourself losing weight. If you came for a Sukuma dance class, you're going to find people from all walks of life, and they have testimonies about how dance has helped shape not just their physical body, but also mentally. Because I got into Sukuma when I was just a dancer, but now I feel I'm a refined dancer.
What's the difference?
The difference is when, let's say, you're dancing, some people just dance mindlessly. Without focusing what body part is moving where. So it's like, vibes. But with intentional dancing, it is mind muscle memory. It's contact. It's like, okay, I'm working on my abs. When I'm whining, I'm actually focusing on my stomach. And that is why most times I don't even have to do all these abs exercises people do. No, I just dance and my body is fit. I eat whatever I want because the dance fixes everything for me. So it's more of shifting from this perspective of, yes, dance is fun. It's all having a good time, establishing community. But we need to start looking at it as an actual space where people can get to develop not just their skills, but also their mindsets and also their bodies. Because it has changed so many people's lives. Some people don't want to accept it because it's like, I don't trade dancers. I mean, even personally, I've been sexualized a lot on the internet, especially because people are like, they don't take what I do seriously. But it's like, all right, let's talk about whining for a bit. The waist movement, it's very important in even Ugandan culture. We're looking at the Basoga, Baganda. I'm a Musoga. So for me,
let me stop you there.
It's my culture.
So when I was growing up,
when
I was still very young, I think I used to dance because they used to pay me.
Oh,
like
look
no,
at that.
like at home functions. Yeah?
Of course,
like my
but
elder
that's
sisters would
something.
be like, Mark is going to dance.
Yeah.
Then I'll twist my waist, and that would be very flexible. But I'm still fit up to now. But then I failed to dance growing up.
Okay.
Even to like songs I like. In the bar, the moves, like it's hard. Like I feel like it's one of the hardest things, and it just comes to people naturally. Like, hey, you can maybe move your body, but I'm a fit guy.
I think it's mindset. It all comes down to the mindset. We have the whole conscious mind, then the subconscious, then the unconscious. So there are certain beliefs we can have about ourselves. Let's say when you were younger, you were free, you were limitless. You just felt like, I can do this. When they say go and dance, you don't even think about it. You're like, let's do it. But then as time goes on, let's say as you're growing up, you're dancing in front of your friends, and you're like, man, this guy can't dance. He can't pull those moves, something like that. Those things are really, we collect it as human beings. We collect all these things that are said around us. And that is why it's so important to take the trash out. You have to sit down. Even me, my dancing, I've had those very things said about me. Rianne can't dance like that, or she's not going to make it. But then I sit down, and whenever that limiting belief comes up, let's say, okay, for example, you've gone out and you want to dance, and it pops up.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't dance. So you'll be like, where is this stemming from? What is the root of this particular thing I'm thinking about? Where is it coming from? And then you realize, oh, there's that guy in Form 2 who told me, man, you're more fake. You can't dance. So it's like, I'm not fake. I can dance. You start cleaning out the trash. Before you know it, you find yourself actually opening up and relaxing and finding yourself in situations where you're putting yourself out there. And then, which brings me back to the community, dance fitness community. Just get into those communities, those spaces that give you grace to try and experiment who you are, to try different things. If you want to dance, you come for, there's also a program at Watoto. It's called LGD, the Local Get Down. It's for freestylers, hip hoppers, people that just want to have a good time, but in a way that's linear with their dance growth. Okay. So the first time I found out about it was from a friend. He referred me. He was like, come through, let's have a good time. I was like, okay. I went there very nervous. I should tell you. I used to have mad anxiety. But the first time I went there, people were so supportive. And the thing is, they take you out of your comfort zone. Let's say you love Afro. These guys will say, okay, you love Afro. Here is a beat. They play that beat, and it's hip-hop, completely different from what you know to do. So it's like, what? But you're in the middle of the circle, so you have to do it regardless. So I think community is a good way to let go of all those limiting beliefs you have about yourself. Is it just
you have to do it, or how do you do it? Like,
you
what
just
comes to
do
your
it.
mind to like? How do you coordinate the beat to your body? Okay,
well, you listen. That's where intentionality comes in. You pause. Let's say the beat starts. Okay, there's a beat. You pick that top beat, the most important one. Because sometimes as dancers, people want to pick these insignificant little beats, and yet you're a beginner. It's kind of like food. You break down the pieces so that you can eat them slowly by slowly. So that's what you do with dance. You listen to the beat. What can you vibe to? Can you vibe to the lyrics? Some people are good for musicality, and others are good for the beat. If you notice it's the beat that you like, follow the beat. Just follow the beat. Because if you go between lyrics and beat, you're going to be very confused. That's what happens to some of us when we are expressing. So it's about just tapping into that one thing you want to listen to, and then let your body go. And always, people forget to give themselves credit that even a head bop is a move. We've seen South Africans. There's this move where it's like, ta, ta, ta. It's just a move, but you'll see everyone in the bar like this. And you're like, what? Yeah. But that is a dance.
Yeah, but you see, when you see, let's say you see a Costa Teach video, and you see all the choreography inside there, it looks so effortlessly easy until you really had to do it. Yeah. When he was on stage and he's trying to direct us, like you feel like okay, you
let's go. Yeah.
But I think it comes with bits of experience of.
Yes, practice. Practice makes perfect for anything. Be it an engineer, be it a doctor, be it a nurse. Everybody has to invest time in their craft. You know, they say the law of mastery, 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
So if you have not yet put in 10,000 hours into whatever you're doing, you're not a master at it. For me, even personally, I don't think I've reached 5,000.
of
I
dance.
could be for
I think I've
dance. I
reached
could.
5,000 for podcasting according to YouTube.
That is
No,
see,
and
that is
there's a lot of
amazing.
stuff I've not even put on YouTube.
So it's halfway there for you, or at least closer to your mastery level. So it's for anything in life. I feel like that is a good law that governs what we do.
Yeah.
It's like 10,000 hours. Just tell yourself 10,000 hours. I don't have to do too much. Even if it was like one day in the year, 365 days, those are 365 hours. Take off those relaxing days or weekends if you don't want to study your craft. And it's about 260 or something. Maybe you remove like 100 hours. You give yourself that grace to say, okay, I'll slack for 100 hours, but I'm going to do the 260. In a couple of years, it starts to build if you're consistent.
How long have you been doing the dancing thing? Are you doing it on like a professional level?
Yes, now it's professional.
Okay.
At first it was just leisure. I started when I was 3 years old. At least that's what I was told. The videos I've seen, I was 3. And it was just basic bopping. Then come to 5 years old, we started doing concerts at school and also weddings, choreographed routines by my mom. And I'm really grateful for my mom. And I just want to really see her tap into her creative genius again. Because she kind of lost it. But I'm starting to see it again. But she's the one that really got us doing things differently. She's the one that taught us to accessorize. She taught us to feel good, look good. She would never let us walk out of home in like looking like a beggar. Because she'd be like, why do you look like that? Like you're a woman. Feel good about yourself. Put on some lip gloss. And you're like 7 years old, but you know you have to look good. So I think the background really helped with me doing dance. However, for professionality, it was just last year. Yeah.
When you realize you want to do this for the rest of your life.
Yes. So there's so many aspects of dance. And as creatives, once you know how to do something and then something else, you feel you can do everything. So at the beginning of the journey, I started doing everything. I wanted to be on stage. I wanted to be releasing content for YouTube. I wanted to go into fitness. I wanted to go into private sessions. So it was like, there's so much going on. But there's also aspects of dance like tutoring. There's also writing, lecturing, like you're teaching people how to do what you know to do. So I had to sit back and look at myself. But of course, with such skills and talents, you have to put yourself out there. Experience is the best teacher. So it's like, let me go on stage and see how I feel about that. I went into stage. I went and did music videos. I did the works, like everything, because I wanted to know what exactly resonates with at least my soul purpose, like what aligns with what I love to do. So the music videos kind of, at least not in Uganda. I'm targeting, let's say, a big video like Beyonce. I would love to dance with Beyonce. And there's a popular...
How do you get your work without first appearing in top videos here? But I think, guys, we're also a production house. This is why I'm giving people credit. I think people have stepped up on their video quality.
Of course. Like, I feel after lockdown, people had time to hone into their craft and explore how best they can do it or how better they can do it. And now the quality I'm starting to see is actually good.
Yeah, so why wouldn't you want to be in the videos here?
It's, like you said, the return of investment. Okay. I think time is the most important thing we have. It's the biggest asset. And let's say they want you for a whole day. You're sitting the whole day. Ideally, it's like, what's the value? Remember, for some dancers who are not doing work on the side, the gigs is all they have. That's it. So which means you're running for gigs all the time. But let's say you're only getting 1 gig a week. What value is this going to bring for you? Is it going to help you at least deal with whatever you want it to help with? Or is it not going to make sense? Or would you rather put your time somewhere else?
In terms of value, are you the one creating the value? If say I have music here, a lot of people reach out to me with their music. So I dedicate so much of my time by I do low budget videos for people that are upcoming. Because then I hope that if they make it, they will continue working with me in the future. So
of course,
we're looking at doing this for forever.
Yes.
But in terms of value, do you think if I sent you a song, you can come up with a plan, like a dance structure on how it will how it will like rhyme, how the video will look like, and you add that value so that it looks like you're contributing to the whole project rather than me hiring you and I know you're a dancer.
You're just
then,
putting it
then
out
I'm
there,
just putting
some
it there.
moves.
Exactly.
All right, I do get that. That is going into creative directing.
Yeah.
And okay, I love that I majored in that in campus, creative advertising. So whenever people come to me with a concept or a song, I can like draw out the whole thing. Props, costumes, we need this kind of vibe. That's if they are letting me get at least creative rights in it. So the value comes from, even I've worked with some upcoming artists as well. And if somebody asks me, how much did you get from that? I'll be like, well, I got a decent amount. Yeah. It's enough. It works for me. Not that every time you're saying, oh, I want this much, I want millions. No, it's like, okay, let's work. Can I show this work to somebody else and say, this is a project I did, and if you want something like this, I can help make it happen. That is the value I'm talking about. One video is supposed to get you at least 3 other videos or more. That's what I believe. If somebody sees one video of yours, 3 people should be at least ready to call you and say, hi, can we work together? Can we do something? So that's where the whole quality comes in. But when I saw this music video come out,
you're disappointed.
Wow. I had so many emotions because I was like, we spent so much time working on this, but I can't share this link to the people I want to see this work. So what are we doing? Yeah, so I think that's just maybe because
you are not involved in that.
Yes, the production. So I was like, okay, for my next project, I would love to be, let's say, higher in the ranks, at least have a say for what is happening or how we're making it look. Because I think as entertainers, it's kind of important if they're getting your intake, especially if you're going to give it like your all. If you're going to say, I'm going to do this, I want to do this, I would love to do this, they should also say, okay, so what do you guys want to see? What vibe are you feeling? So that it's like, if we finish shooting the project, can we push it on to the next collaborators we're going to work with? That is where the value is for creatives.
Minus just, okay, the music videos come with a whole plan, the lyrics, the guy has messages sending out. But for you, with the dancing, are you can you use the dance to communicate?
Yes, that's what I do also. I call it movement and expression. So if you've seen some of my projects, so far I have 2 projects, but there are others in the works in YouTube. On YouTube, that's where I put them. There are others in the works that resonate with my being. Because I think every creative has that space in their life, that moment where you're following a trend because you believe it's what people want to see. You believe it's what's going to get you the opportunities. You believe it's what's going to make you go out there. But then as time goes on, you have to look inward. You have to be real with yourself. Like, does this make sense? Yes. If it does, you continue. If it doesn't, it's like, let me take a break. Another thing that creatives fear to do is taking breaks from their work. You see somebody posting, but it's like, babe, what are you putting out there? Is it bringing the value, like you said? Because for the past now I have 2 public videos on YouTube, but they got me at least 4 gigs each. Like they brought in that kind of like value. That's what I feel. And then the others that are coming out, they embody my alter ego. I created an alter ego to deal with the stage fright, the social anxiety, because I was like, bruh, Rianne is not figuring this shit out. So let's create somebody who's like all about that base. She's like really cool. So the projects that I created after that are so different from what I've seen myself do before or what I've seen other people doing, at least in Uganda. Yeah, so I think with time, people will be able to also notice that this is a person who is actually creating. They're not just copying and pasting.
Yeah, but the thing with breaks also, look at how Drake has taken up hip-hop, Drake, or even Drake, he released music from start up to now.
Yeah, it's been consistent.
He just puts out music in. There's always Drake out. There's always some new Drake. Yeah, when people are singing, when people are taking 6 years to release master albums, he's releasing music and it's out there. But it's also a thing like it's a way of getting into the market. Like he's now part of what we listen to.
Yes, usually. Well, that's his process. as a creative, that is his process, and it's respectable. You feel.
But I feel like a lot of people have tried to follow that route. When you look at radio,
Yeah,
and Weasel, when they started releasing music, they
didn't stop.
Yeah.
And they were releasing gold each time. We have to be honest. I think you can put
That's
out.
the thing. Nigerian music.
Yeah.
It sounds all the same, but they release, there's a new guy every month.
Yeah.
Who seems like the previous guy, but you were going to vibe to his stuff.
Well, we have to also think about the background guys. Let's say somebody who's not even signed to a label. What's going on at the back? I found out that there are streaming houses in Nigeria where people just sit to stream music and they get paid to do that. So that pushes the numbers. But let's talk about, let's say, somebody who's actually getting organic streams, like people actually listening to him out there and they love what he's doing. It comes down to presentation.
Yeah.
People, we as human beings, we love to be sucked in by that. We love somebody that looks good. We see a yummy man, we are like, oh, yes, I want to subscribe. Let's say when Omale came out, he looked so good, and the way he had branded himself, it was in this dreaded boy who's singing R&B. He's not the only man with dreads who's doing R&B, but then he came out at a time when people wanted to listen to that. So you look at what is going on, and then you tap in. You sing about what is relevant. People are, let's say, experiencing heartbreaks. People are lonely. They just want to understand what is happening. So he puts that out. That is what the Nigerians have understood, I feel. They look at what's relevant around them.
And they sing about that.
They sing about that. But then you listen to...
Isn't it what happens? Yeah, isn't it why
it has started now.
Trending?
Well, I think now, yes, that is what happens. But let's say the upcoming artists. We're not going to talk about the urban artists who are trying to be upcoming. And they're also learning to tap into that. Let's say we listen to somebody like Cohen JC and you realize, okay, yeah, he's singing about what's relevant. Like what's going on in our minds, in our loved up minds in society. But then there's another artist you listen to and he's saying things like, niggas did this, niggas did that. And you're like, hold on, what?
Yeah.
This is not relevant. Like it doesn't help us in any way.
But when you look at the Western culture, that is what they front. When you look at top 100 hits,
yes,
there's going to be niggas shooting what?
Because that is what is relevant in there.
Yeah,
yes, we look at hip hop. Let's go back memory lane and say how hip hop started. Yeah. It started because the people in the hood were trying to pass on a message to their friends, like, yo, my friend got shot. This one got locked up. This one got busted because of this. See, it's like you listen to all those OGs, and it's like a real story.
Yeah.
To Uganda, it would be, what would say, it's Kadongo Kam. Those Aisha, she sat on them. There's like,
marriages.
Yes, because it's relevant, and that is why Kadongo Kamu blew up so much. But then we come back to the Ugandan society as a culture. We are very, let's say if you go to the Apple top 100 songs in Uganda, you're going to find like 4 Ugandan songs, 5. The rest, Nigerian, foreign music. Like, because people are trying to relate to what's going on outside. Mm-hmm. Maybe our own music here doesn't get enough airplay. Maybe it could be part of the artist's problem, but it's also part of our problems as Ugandans. Because we sometimes refuse to accept what we have until it's relevant to other people. The people who think it looks good, once they accept it, it's like, oh yeah, man, I always knew. But at first, they won't accept you because they're like, this guy is not making sense. So I feel it's starting to take a while. Like, we're starting to see the changes coming in with the way Joshua Baraka was accepted. He has good sound.
Okay. 2 things I feel. People like Joshua Baraka are really good.
Yes.
But also, Joshua Baraka has to literally outcompete Adele.
Yeah, because it's the same genre.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I'll listen to Joshua Barak, and I like it, and it's going to be in this moment. Like, he's Ugandan, I'm going to support him. But how does he then match up with that type of art to beat the greatest? Or is it just going to stay mediocre like that? Like, yo, how are you going to, like, reach to, like...
the great heights.
Yeah, and this is exactly how I feel about Isabel.
Isabel
she's been on this podcast, like, twice.
I listened to her last album,
Yeah.
Love and Light.
Love and Light is incredible, but that is still a thing. It's about identity. Like, you are singing almost like Rihanna, and you could even be better than Rihanna, but of course the market is not going to choose you over Rihanna.
Of course.
Yeah. So how do you then beat that?
I think it's branding and presentation. Aside from the 10,000 hours of mastery, we've seen people who barely know what they're doing. Like, you listen to a person and you're like, bro, come on. International artists, by the way. And it's like, But when you go to their page, they are all about what they're singing about. It matches. They've invested time to build a brand image that is so compelling, it convinces everyone that they're actually what they say they are. That is it. We have to start investing in our images as creatives. It's like, you say, okay, let me give an example of love and light. If I were like to be all about love and light, I would do photo shoots that are so green and it's like all love and light. And so that people, even people who are not Ugandan, can now start to resonate with the theme of what I'm putting out. That is why you see celebrities like Chloe Bailey, Doja Cat. They do photo shoots like every 2 days. You see new images, but they're relevant to the energy they're trying to put out. She's putting out sexy, it's sexy photo shoots. She's putting out hidden, compelling, it's gruesome images. It's like, what's this? But that is it. The image speaks 1,000 words.
Are you ready for that kind of thing in Uganda?
Yes, I think it's about time we start doing that. And like you said, the fact that you're looking to work with people, collaborations are the only way we're going to make it. You find a photographer who's understanding the kind of image or theme you're trying to put out, and they vow to make it happen. Of course, it starts like, man, let's just do this together. Let's collaborate and do a project. Because even all the projects I've done, they're just collaborations. It's not like the person says, hey, man, pay this amount. It's like, all right, I see what you're doing, and maybe cover this much for just this, but yeah, let's do this and make it happen the way you want to see it.
You also said we don't, I think Ugandan music doesn't get, creatives don't get enough airplay here, but you also work on radio. So in terms of curation, how do you create your show to make sure that changes?
Yeah, so I have a 4-hour show, like I said. And there's...
Pause, please. This camera is recording.
Okay. Okay, so I have a 4-hour show, and in 4 hours, there's so much music that can be played in between them. So there is an hour called Shoot Your Shot, just dedicated for urban artists to have a space or an arena. And the thing is, the music is vetted. You have to listen and say, is this good enough for people to listen to? Because your brand...
What's good enough?
Well, there are certain factors, like the quality of the production. Is it mastered, right?
Okay.
Because there's some music you listen to and you know, okay, this was meat. They didn't really produce that well. So you have to look at the producer's history. Some artists make their own music. They produce for themselves, which is good. But is it good? Is it good production? You look at that. And then the lyrics, is it aligning with, is the whole song making sense from the start to the end? Is it something I would be happy listening to? Is it a no-skip song? No-skip songs are very important, especially in radio. And that is why you find radios in Uganda putting in songs people know by heart. They play a song from beginning to finish, because at radio, you don't skip.
I remember at some point you could predict the whole Capital FM playlist thing. They would literally do the same music over and over again.
Same lineup. Exactly.
Yeah. What's the essence of that? Isn't that like corrupting the market and banking real estate in people's mind that this song is actually really good?
Well,
by constantly putting it.
There is that, yes. Repetition is one way to make people feel like something is relevant. But then other times, it's also because look at your audience. What do they like? It starts with what time do they tune in? Let's say for my show, if people tuned in and then I notice the viewers are many at like a certain hour. I have to look, what music do I play in this hour? Is it Ugandan music? Is it a blend? Is it what kind of music plays at this particular hour? So it's easier to know what people are looking for when they tune in. Are they tuning in for me? Of course, radio, they're tuning in for the music. You have to know. Yes, I'm relevant because I'm the voice of the show. But then again, what's in between?
The only
It's the
reason
in-betweens
I
that
tuned
matter.
in, I watched a video of yours, then I was like, okay, she's also on radio. Then I went to radio to see, okay, now the dancer is also on radio. Let me look into their mind.
Oh yeah, there's that. Most of the people I know say they tuned in because they know me, like personally. But then others that I've met online, like people who've listened to the show before, they say, wow, great music, great lineup, great playlist. We tune into the show because it has urban music, and that is what we're looking for. So it's like, okay, this is what they want. So you have to find a way to blend it so that it is relevant to their ears. That is why maybe...
The other thing... but please first finish. That is why?
Yeah, so that's why maybe Capital FM at some point had the same lineup. Because at that time, the viewers spiked up. Maybe that's why they were trying to understand why exactly people were listening at a particular time. But other times, it's also the fault of the production manager. Maybe they've not updated the playlist, so...
Yeah, but now, you see, we operate in a world where the bots, I could spiral up viewership or streams for my song, and it necessarily doesn't mean to be good.
Well, those are loopholes, I say, people...
Yeah. You can't avoid them anymore.
You can't avoid. It's just part and parcel of the industry. It's like...
How much Uganda music do you play on your show? Like percentage? 80%? 20%?
I'd say 30.
30?
Yeah, there's not much to pick from if I'm being very, very honest. You listen to a project, you line it up. You line it up, and shows have tempos.
Yeah.
There is the mid-tempo, high tempo. So you find a song that is mid-tempo, and it can't play in the high-tempo show, the evening show. People are coming from work, they want to listen to a boost. Some songs just don't apply. Then the mid-tempo show, there are some songs that are just too loud. You can't interrupt somebody's workday with such a song. So it's like, okay, let us play songs that at least align with the mood. You have to set a mood. That is it about playlist. That's it about lining up music. So at the end of the day, you can fix in about, let's say, 20 songs, 20 to 30 songs in a show, because that's what aligns with the mood and balances with all the other music you're trying to mix into the show. That way you can keep your listeners, because they know, okay, this is a balanced show. It's not... I'm sure you've been there in the bar. Yeah. 1 second, you're vibing, then they play I Know Who I Am. And it's like, you have to remember, man, I need to go to church tomorrow. So it's like, the mood is killed. It's like, you can't keep doing what you're doing in that. So it's like appealing to people's moods. Yeah. That's what radio and music aligning is about.
Now, whining, dancing is very sexualized. How do you deal with that?
You let people be. You let people be. At first, it used to kick my ass. I'd be like, oh no, people are looking at me. I even stopped putting out content because I felt weird. I was like, oh God, why are people looking at me like this? Because somebody would... Okay, my friends were very respectful. Most people who approach me are very respectful, actually. But then there's that one random comment from somebody you don't know, from like Kenya or Tanzania.
Even if it's from Uganda. Yeah.
Yeah, and they throw in that car. Ew, that cringe comment. But then I realized that's them. And that's okay. Like, it's not my problem. I don't have to deal with this. Me, I know why I put it out. I put it out because I've got a skill that I think people should see. I'm also, let's say, trying to reel in women. Because most of my viewers, according to my statistics, are women. The women that come to me, they're like, I want to be confident like you. Some of them, of course, use it to work in their bedrooms. I have couples I work with. I did my first couple last December. And it was the most interesting experience. I had never done it before. I had seen dancers in the UK and the US doing it. So this lady approaches me. She texts me on Instagram. She's like, hi, I'm trying to spice things up with my husband, but I don't know how. And it seems like you kind of have an idea of what to do. My friend has been coming for classes with you, and she says...
Things are better.
Yeah. So I said, okay. And she's like, yeah, but I want my husband to be there. And I'm like, what? So I was like, I've never done that before. But, okay, you don't turn down an opportunity just because you've never done it before. So I watched a couple of videos and I learned about, let's say, chemistry, what are the important touch points for people in relationships, what factors will make people feel better if like they're dancing together. Yeah. So she told me, okay, let's get a studio that is kind of private. She had a studio in Entebbe nearby her place, I think at a gym. So we went there, and at first I was scared as hell. This was the first Ugandan couple to approach me like that. So of course you work on the usual stretching, stretch together. You know, of course they first work individually because you have to establish an energy which is confident regardless of who's around them.
Yeah.
People have to feel confident in themselves. So we started stretching slowly by slowly. Then after that we did the waist movements. Of course, waist works together with thighs and knees. So squats are incorporated, twerking is incorporated in there because it's very good with helping the glutes. And once you start working up a sweat, according to what I read, that's when the hormones start to flow, the pheromones, and people start feeling intense. So that's when I started working with, if you know, a move called Kizomba. It's a dance style called Kizomba.
My dancing is the worst.
Well, it's a very sensual move.
Yeah.
It's very popular in the Caribbean culture where couples get together and get really close and then you start grinding. Of course, people sexualize it naturally, but it's a very connected move. It makes you feel closer to the person you're dancing with. So I gave them some basic steps, the 1, 2, 3, and then the grind. And sooner they started really like getting intense. They started laughing and smiling. And I even started feeling like, should I leave? But I love that after that, she gave a very good review. She said, I'm going to incorporate this into our home routine. When we get back from work, we can at least explore this together. And that for me was perfect.
So do you now package your I don't know, your service like that, like for couples?
Yeah, after that happened, I started drafting out a package. Because by the time somebody has asked for that, that means people out there want that. So at first it used to just be flexibility. It actually started with flexibility. Then it went into yoga because the people around me wanted flows, yoga flows. So we started doing yoga. Then eventually one of my clients saw me like dancing. Then she also followed me on Instagram. And she said, I didn't know you whine. How much do you do for this? And that's when I introduced the whining package, which is actually the most popular. So she started doing orders. Her friends came in. And these are older women, by the way. I'm talking 30s going to 40, that kind of.
Can they still whine?
Yes. Anybody. I feel anybody. It's your body.
Yeah,
As long
I think
as
nobody really gets tired at like 40 years.
No, we have seen people at 50. There's a lady in the US, she's 54, but she is so hardcore. She does this sort of like guerrilla stuff, like doing those war courses. And you see her jumping and climbing rails, and you're like, and she has gray hair. And all.
Yeah, but what's the chance that a 40-year-old woman that has already disappointed the husband, probably boy, according to her mind, can now whine, can get their body to whine, like
Mindset.
they're you.
Mindset. That's it. That's my answer for everything actually these days. It's mindset. If
When
you
you put your
believe
mind
you
to
can
it.
do it, you're going to do it. There's nothing that can stop you. I mean, we have these societal limitations where we look at ourselves and it's like, oh, I can't do it, or it's difficult. And this one applies across all fields actually. But then as time goes on, you do it on baby steps. Like, give yourself the grace to learn. It's mindset plus acceptance. Like, accept that, okay, I'm not good, but I'm open to learning. I'm open to exploring this the best way possible. And before you know it, with consistent, of course, action, you'll get whatever you're looking for.
So in terms of branding, you see how rappers and their labels brand out, like let's say Cardi B. They'll look at, because one, they're going to sexualize the lyrics, and they're going to sexualize the image. I think Spice Diana tried to do it in the beginning with the previous manager, but strictly for business. So when they do that, it shines light. When you sing, like when someone sees videos like you've done, They'll think of music like for your levies, they'll think of private sessions.
Yes.
Are you open-minded enough to brand yourself like that, just for the business side of it?
If it works, again, business is business, like you said. A lot of times we've seen personalities have to completely separate their who they are, their self, from their business persona. We take a look at actors. People who do sex scenes and it's like, damn. But you go back to her private life and she's a normal woman, maybe a mother of two, but she had to do what she had to do for that.
I've watched
that cash.
About 6 documentaries on porn stars, and I'm very shocked that they are really different people. This is, to most of them, it's business.
It's business.
Some even told me disgusted by sex as an individual. It's just business. She comes to act, then she goes back. Most are married.
Yes.
And how that plays in my mind is okay.
It comes down to being open-minded. Now, let's say my boyfriend, very supportive person. You say, I'm going to shoot a video like this and like this. When I was going for my dance project, I sent him the music video, sorry. I sent him what I was wearing. And he's like, it's like, go kill it anyway. You've got this. So those people, it depends on the people around you. If they're supportive of what you do, it's very easy for you to not forget who you are, to not get lost in that whole persona. Like Beyonce created Sasha Fierce. All creatives can create an alter ego that carries the weight of or responsibility of how they're branding themselves. It's like, I don't want to wear those short things, but my alter ego loves wearing that. You just throw it. You have that right as a human being. Our mind is already so complex. And the fact that you feel like people in their heads are always battling demons. It's like, man, the thoughts I have, one day I don't understand myself, other days I understand myself. You need to just step back and say, okay, which feelings identify with this kind of persona?
Yeah.
Rianne likes this. Mine is called Rimani. Rimani is synonymous for faith in Rianne. So she had to lift me up from who I was. I used to shiver, literally. Like, they'll say, Rianne, we're shooting a video. And I'm like, I'm shaking. And I had friends at campus who would be like, girl, you got this. But they didn't understand. Anxiety is such a heavy, it's like a heavy demon of fear, because it's trying to show you what you need to do, but in ways that scare you because you feel you're not ready for it. So every time I felt like Rianne was not ready for that, I would throw it the other side and I'm like, girl.
Yeah, I'm a strong believer in you can either let your anxiety work for you or against you, really. You can just fight you.
I love that.
I've seen one of my closest friends, Martin.
Yeah.
They get so anxious about something. But then they're like the most consistent person I know.
Like
about
they keep doing it.
Like they do it. But oh my God, for them to start, I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with issues like this guy. Now, you've referenced Beyonce a lot in this podcast.
Interesting, have I?
Yes. How much of an inspiration is she to you, and how can you explain that? I always see the whole power thing. Then I feel like she's another Hollywood script.
Yes. Yeah. Well, there is that, because before you look up to somebody,
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Before you look up to somebody, look for their dark side as well, so that you know what you're honoring comes with. Because I started listening to Beyonce when I was 6. Then she released her I Am Sasha Fierce project in 2008. And me and my sisters ate that up. We could dance to that album from beginning to end with choreographed routines. And she had the whole I'm a diva. And then she sang about ego. Like, he's got a big ego, something like that. I was like, okay, ego. That's the first time I heard the word ego. And over the years, I started trying to look at what did she mean by this. I like to understand what I'm getting.
Yeah.
Before I start respecting people, I need to know what's up. So I started looking into that, and there was all these rumors about Illuminati, and it's like, what is the Illuminati about? I had to dive into that. Then I realized I don't want to be really associated with things I don't understand. So I said, how much of Beyonce do I like? Okay, I like her music. All right. I like her lyrics. Okay, they are very bold. I love her videos. The creative energy she puts into her videos is inspiring. She was one of the first artists to do that. When I watched the girls' video, it made me feel like, wow, with the right mindset, we can all come together as girls who dance and do something big. So for me, I look at what her work represents, not who she is as a person. Yeah. I think sometimes it gets
What do you
lost
think
in
about the latest
translation.
album?
Renaissance?
Yeah.
I love it.
I think that's her greatest one.
By far.
Yeah.
And when it first came out, it was kind of a hard pill to swallow because it was mainly house. But then I sat down with it, like actually sat down and started listening to, and I work also on radio, so it's like you have to listen to your music so that you can explain it to people in the best way. So, of course, with the word Renaissance, it was like, okay, this is artistic revolution. It's a beginning of something. It's a movement. All right, let's listen to it. And then Break My Soul comes in, and Alien Superstar, and all these other projects. And her whole album is really just uplifting. Even when you listen to America Has a Problem, ordinarily you see the title and you're like, is she going to sing about politics, inflation, wars, crime? But then she's just singing like, I know my worth. It can't get higher than this. I'm Beyonce. So it's really an affirmation. It's an affirmation of sorts. So I tend to tell people that, because you're not the first person to ask me that. I had a friend who told me, she's an Illuminati. They sacrifice.
I didn't say that. I feel like this is how I want to put it. Yeah, I feel like they just put it on us to think she's a perfect human being in that sense. But when you listen to people like Kanye West come out to say that, those people are just meant to shut up, like the anti-system.
Yeah.
And you start to believe it, yeah? But then I commend the energy. I like this album. I commend the energy. I commend the inspiration. She's an idol. Like you would want anyone would want to look up to her on something.
Yeah, and in relation to what you said, you brought in Kanye, and there's something I always tell people, that the fact that social media has made us feel like we have to be involved or engaged in all conversations, but you have to be selective. You have that choice as a human being. Like, just because they tell you, oh man, this person did this, did that, okay, shit, like, that's awful. But that's a personal problem. Yeah. So do I have to meddle in it right now? Do I have to give my thoughts on it? Do I have to really get invested in it? Do I have to sell my soul for this conversation? Because that is what mass conversations are all about. They're just drawing in people's energy and diverting them from what they could be otherwise doing. I feel like as a people,
we always miss just taking the good from people. Yet life teaches us every single day that we are all just humans, right? Like, you're going to make a mistake twice. I always tell my male friends that, do you know that if you do, it takes some really, really high sense of morality for you to have protected sex with a random you've picked from the bar.
It's very tempting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for all the times you've not done it, and you've had live sex, and you've gotten out alive with no UTI, with no STD, do you ever imagine that you could be in the worst position? Yeah. If something had gone wrong. And this is something like, it is, you are happy, you got this chick, you're happy, and this happened.
Yeah,
but by God's grace, or whatever it is, you're still there. So this argument again came in when I was looking at Andrew Tate's cases online.
Yes.
So you see, this is a guy that is a kickboxer. He has won, yeah?
Yes.
This is a guy that is fit. This is a guy that works out. There's so much discipline with that. Like, I struggle with that every single day. Like, I've had my friends, the Erics, I think, they used to work out from way when we were in, like, S4.
Yeah.
And they had their bodies in shape, and I would want that. But I've struggled with that until now. Like the consistency. I'll go to gym.
Yeah, because you have to show up every day, regardless.
And so when someone like that comes out, and even if there's some bad to them, and it's really, this guy is mistreats women, and to the best, like, you could hate someone for what they do. But then there's some bit of positive energy.
You have to commend them for the good work they're doing.
Yeah, like, you can't take that away from them. To me, this applies to everyone. To the Kanye as well, when people say, nah, that guy is clinging, he's running mad on the wife and all that stuff. I'm like, but this guy really gave us Life of Pablo. He gave us Graduation.
He's given us great projects, and projects so intentionally put out.
Yeah.
If you're not very dedicated or committed to what you're doing, you can't put out something like that. Just recently, somebody shared with me a project he had done. I think it was for Runaway. And it was about 39 minutes long. And I watched the whole project and I was shell-shocked. I was like, wow, the delivery, this is not something they did in one day. It's different from what other people are putting out. So,
I mean, let me tell you something. Kanye West is literally the only rapper that has recreated themselves on every single album differently. Yeah?
yes.
Like, he's going to come sounding differently.
Different.
He's not Drake, he's not DJ
And
Khaled.
the thing is, he's singing about real stuff.
Yeah,
like
and you resonate with the message, like you feel it. I think his latest music is about they want to play my music because I'm not talking about shooting people and killing people and using drugs and doing what. Like, it's so real when you think about it.
It's raw, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it takes balls to put out that kind of stuff. I mean, where we've reached as society, people like to hear what they love to hear. Because you tell somebody, I almost committed suicide, I almost killed myself, and they're like, don't say that. And it's like, but it's the truth.
It's my reality.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's what happened, and I have to deal with it. Or you say, these people are refusing me to talk about it. And, there is so much gray screens. It's like, it's really messy with
Have
those
you wanted
upper
to commit
systems.
suicide before?
Well, like I told you, there was a point in my life where I felt broken. Yes.
You want to share about that or not?
Well, I can't talk about it. I'm healed from it.
Okay.
So, it was
Like,
in
how was your
December.
mind space? What happened? Yeah, like, tell me about your mind space when you felt like now you're broken from.
So in 2018, I received a scholarship to one of the best institutions in Northeast India. And wow, everyone was happy, of course. But considering that this was the first time I was going abroad alone, I was kind of skeptical because I'm like, what? What are we doing? But I was excited. There's that youth vibe of like, let's do it. Let's go get it. And the first few months were amazing. When I landed in India, the air was, it's toxic air, polluted. And I got an asthma attack at the air. Like, you get out of the airport and breathe in. Because, in movies, it's like, wow, they take a fresh breath. And I took in the breath and my chest like, so I was like, shit. What? I didn't carry an inhaler because, I don't know. I didn't assume I would need it. So over time, such small things started getting to me. I would get concerned. I'm like, oh my God, my health. And then also finances. And then you're being approached by Nigerians and Congolese telling you things like, come and donate your eggs for $2,000. Or we can help you get quick money. Those quick money schemes that are very detrimental to your health. And it was also tempting, but the best thing about being a semi-coward is you have the grace to discern, is this worth it or not? So I would turn it down. It was all very scary. And all that kind of, I think in my head, I was just 18, it kind of started warping. I started having episodes where I'm just crying. And this was a person who was so happy about life, excited to do things. And I'm seeing myself and things are not resonating. And then let's also get to the pressure of wanting to look good on social media. Your peers know you're abroad. So there's that weird thing weighing on you, like, I have to look good.
You're different.
Yeah, like, things have to change. That's what kicked me really into the corner. And Christmas hit me and I was alone because most of my friends had traveled back home and I had stayed around. And I was alone in my room that night and I'm like, is it worth it? Really? Is it? Should we? I was freaked out. Like, I could not even see beyond the next day. That's just how dark it had gotten. I couldn't see my life after tomorrow. That's when I knew it was messy. And at that time, I was on prescription for 3 different pills of anxiety. At least our campus was very supportive when it came to mental health. So they would help you with the resources they thought you needed.
Yeah.
So I started heavy medicating. And it's tempting. It's like, let me do an overdose. And I'm grateful to God it didn't work. It didn't work. But the best thing about that episode of my life is it made me realize that it's okay. At first, I used to live in like shame about it. I was so guilty. I couldn't even talk to anybody. Then one day I told my mom about it. I was like, oh, Mom, you know what? Last Christmas, this happened and this and this. And she was like, wow, I didn't know that, but I'm so glad you're alive. She said, I'm so glad you're alive. And I realized, okay, I didn't.
That meant something.
That was such a big deal. Like, sometimes we forget that we are valuable to people around us. you hosting this particular space, you've given a voice to so many people who thought they were ordinary. But the fact that there's a video that shows that they had something big to say.
It's interesting. At first, we're doing it as friends. We're hosting like about 4 people. So we're doing it as friends. It's something we can do in our leisure time. And then the first season is we're just friends. Then season 2 is where we started a guesting thing.
Yeah.
But to some people, once you release their podcast, it's like you're giving them 1 million.
A highlight, my guy. Like when I told you I manifested
this.
Oh
my God! Like a friend of mine called me and they were so happy. They've always been so happy. They find me in a place. I'm like, oh my God, this guy thing. I'm like, bro, we just had a conversation. Like, I'm going to do this for life. Like, you can just come back, we have a conversation. But what it means to them in that moment is different. Yeah, like you'll see, okay, there's some purpose to this. Then you keep doing it. Then you keep neglecting everything else, the financial sector. You're like, okay, let me just.
It all figures itself out, because I think as creatives, that's also a journey we have to be in. For me, one of the reasons I wanted to off was because my finances were dead. And I didn't want to go into prostitution. I don't think I wanted to go into drug trafficking. So I was like, bruh, what am I going to do? Like, there's no point. But then when I stopped worrying about that, sometimes you just have to give credit to your creator and be like, man, you know what you are doing when you put me here, so let's do it.
Someone told me, though, that if you survive porn in India, then you'll survive it everywhere. But it's too much.
Too much. And one time, one friend of mine, she's called Denise. Oh, I love her so much. She's also a dancer. So we were walking. We usually used to do walks together, soul talks. She's all about the evolution of the mind. So our conversations were always healthy. And we were walking back. We had gone for a walk in like some places out there. We were taking a walk. And we were coming home and some man yelled at us, 2,000 rupees. It was like 3,000 rupees. We ignored him. 4,000 rupees. So she's like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. Why is he yelling money? And then he kept on looking at us like until he stopped at like 5,000. He was like, 5,000 rupees. Then he jeered. And then we realized, oh shit. And Africans have been so sexualized out there. Like, there are also girls who are just carried there to be prostitutes. They seize their passports. The girls can't do anything but fuck their way out of it. So it's a very dark place to be. And truly, once you survive that, I mean, some people are so encased in like their little cute bubble of life because they have the support they need. But others have to raw dog it. It's like, you're looking at life and it's like, bruh, what are we doing? So when that happened to us, we realized, okay, there are certain girls going through this. They hear that and they say yes. They'll hear 3,000 or 5,000 and they'll say yes. And it was like, we started having conversations also with our friends to increase our value, like as women. Sometimes we forget. We've reached a point, I mean, excuse pseudo-feminism, but focusing on feminism in itself. A lot of people discredit it.
When you say pseudo-feminism,
men are trash. What? Like those feeble things. No, let's get deep into it. Talking about the value. When people say sexes can't be equal, yes, fine. You can say that. But we're all human beings at the end of the day. If you put us out in the jungle, the lion is not going to say, oh, a woman. No, whoever is there is going to be eaten. So it comes down to feminism applying itself in the way of the law of the jungle. That's where it comes like equity, where resources are being shared equally, opportunities and spaces are considered and given to people regardless of their gender. So women sometimes...
One would argue that feminism now just gives more opportunities to women than...
Well, if it does, then yay for women. But it's not also... You can look at the statistics. Yeah, like even those recently, I was having a conversation with a friend. He's an investment banker. And he said when there's a criteria for trying to consider people who are worthy of investing, being a woman is one of the things that could get you discarded. It's like, are they actually going to be worth it? Because yes, women are known for being emotional beings, and therefore that is not very good for businesses, and it ends up sabotaging businesses. But then again, we have to give credit to the women that are actually making things happen. So he told me it's actually true. If you're white, male, this was also a lawyer who was pumping it in. He was like, if you're white, male, and let's say from a good background, from the good schools, you're gonna be a green check. Because in the past, statistically, it has shown that such people deliver. But then, if you're a woman, black or African, or you have that background which is not as stable, you're not considered. So many women miss out on opportunities. But when they do get them, you get to realize that they're actually making things happen. But that's just, I think, a loophole in society. Like, at the end of the day, if you want something, you're going to get it regardless. That's what I believe. It's like, I want it, I got it. And that's it, like, standard.
You have been around women your whole life.
Yeah.
Home.
5
schools.
girls, then single-sex schools all the way.
Yeah.
So even getting to integrate my relationship with men was very difficult because while growing up, the only relationships I used to see, okay, I was one of those kids that would sneak, let's say we had friends who would bring copies of Red Pepper to school and there's like that copy of Mr. Hyena going around because like, you want to also read about it and get excited. So my perception of men was completely sexual. I couldn't make friends with men without feeling like there has to be something. And the problem is that some men we deal with, that's what they love. They love that edge. They love the fact that most women forget that they can just be friends. It's only until a friend told me that she used to always go out with these guys. A guy would spend on her like $300 and she would feel like she has to sleep with him that day. And then one time a guy flew her out of the country for a vacation because she was feeling down. And he didn't expect anything. He didn't ask her for anything. He didn't even pressurize her. Of course, they want it.
That's a 1%, yeah?
Yes. She said no, and the guy was like, cool, let's have a good time. Delivered her back safely, and they're still friends, like there's an understanding. So I feel like women, we've been raised, okay, I don't want to say raised, but we've grown up in a society or a space where people feel like they have to always turn like their relationships or friendships into sexual
But what happens
kind
if
of spaces?
It's a reverse? I've experienced wanting to do stuff for a woman and they want to pay me back like that. Like they feel like that's how they should pay me back.
It's their personal choice.
And it's very uncomfortable for me in that case. Yeah, because it will make me feel like, okay, no, I'm not fighting. Like, okay, I'm not so used to getting things so easy in my life.
Yeah.
So it just can't happen like that. But that happens. Yeah, I feel like also people really use sex for trade.
These days, yeah. Interestingly.
When you say these days, which other days have you used?
I mean, okay. I feel like that is quite true because we've seen girls get tuition like that.
Yeah.
Get their rent, bills paid. It's like the norm. Because I've also had men approach me. They ask me, what do you need? And we have a conversation about it. And then they're like, you know what to do. And I'm like, it's okay. I'll work for it. I mean, getting
That's
stuff.
Like
yeah,
I feel
like
that there's good and bad in life.
it is. It's, I think, the fact that life doesn't even come with a manual. Because I may be saying something and it's like not relevant. There's so many factors behind that picture of sex for trade. Because I would say, I could say like during campus, that was what was going on in campus. Like people were actually trading like themselves for tuition, themselves for rent. I've seen it happen and there's no judgment at all. It's like, girl, you have to do what you have to do sometimes. So life doesn't come with a manual that if you do this, this happens. We've seen girls inherit places because they gave to this one person. So it's really a game of chance. If you land on the right or good person, good for you. If you land on the wrong people, lesson learned. You just have to go on.
Back to like school.
Yeah.
How do you feel about single-sex schools?
Well, I like the fact that you can be yourself in single-sex schools. I haven't been in mixed schools, so I can't really say.
You can't speak for them.
Yeah. But for us, it was a space of no judgment. Of course, until later years, like later in high school, that's when people started feeling conscious. But before, you're just showing up. You're all girls. You're doing whatever you want to do. It's easy for you to take part in sports, dance and all those other things because you don't feel like you're being watched. I had friends in mixed school who would say, I didn't feel comfortable exploring my sports like football, volleyball, netball, because men or the boys would come and like pick out their favorites. They would come and like try to make us feel some kind of way because we're girls playing sports. So for me, I feel like single sex schools are quite good, but then also they are lacking in terms of the relations. We need, if we're to really coexist as men and women in a society, it needs to start from the bottom. So that women can at least learn to make platonic relationships with
Exactly.
men.
So that was actually going to be like the next part of the conversation. Didn't that affect you? It's not just 6 years. So 6 years of high school, then the 7 years of primary school.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that affect how you relate to men now? How have you dealt with that? How have you adjusted?
Well, like I said, experience is the best teacher. The thing about life is you either go through it or you watch somebody who has gone through it and learn from it.
Them, yeah.
So for me, I've always been a private person. I do things, it's like one of my, I think my negative traits. I do things very privately. Most times I do things then I inform. Like, oh yeah, by the way, I did this. So whenever I'd be going out with people, most people never really knew. It was like, I'm doing this for me. It's my relationship. It's my fun time. So I went through this phase, which most girls actually now going through, especially in campus, of hypersexuality. We had that era where kids would go to like ethnic, Waikiki, and like they're making out with boys, and they would come to school and tell you about it, and it's like,
cool.
I want that. I want to try that. What saved me kind of was the fact that I was in Ginger. That's where I grew up from. That's where I come from. So, of course, the distance. But you'd find boys who are willing to travel from Kampala to Ginger to come and see you. And naturally, it's like they expect something. See? So the whole expectation started from a very young age, from like high school. So through campus, I had to relearn. I had to unlearn those particular things because I always tell my friends, you can't sleep with the whole world. You can't sleep with everybody who says hi to you. You can't sleep with everyone who spends $100 on you. You can't sleep with everyone who takes you out for a nice meal. You can't sleep with everyone who picks you up in a nice car. Because then you'll be sleeping with the whole world. So I had to...
Who did you decide to sleep with?
Well, I'm no relationship expert, but there is something about energy. Now, this would be, okay, during campus, one of my forms of therapy was tapping into the spiritual aspects of the Indian culture.
Okay.
And I learned...
How was that?
Oh, it was fun. It started off as a joke because I come from a Catholic home. And those
Same
ones...
here.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. And they do honor, you know how it is in Catholic homes. You have the novenas, rosaries.
Yeah, went to a Catholic school, what?
Exactly. So the whole culture of the Catholic Church, what I love most about it is choir. I sing in choir, so that's like my favorite aspect.
Well, you still go to Catholic choir?
I do, yes.
That's dope.
Yes.
Okay.
But then I carried the traits or the culture I learned in India with me up to now. Because
I want you to tell me about that culture. That's
yes.
Yeah.
So they teach a system or culture whereby it's not about your physical body. You know how Christians say the urges of the flesh. Yeah. Now, in what I don't like about the explanation in the Catholic Church is that it's rehearsed. It's the same stuff. So they don't tell you what are the urges of the flesh. When they say urges of the flesh, they say alcohol, sex, drugs. But it's like, get deep. What are the urges of the flesh? What is behind that alcohol? Which comes down to depression, anxiety, laziness, fear, procrastination. Now that is what those guys would deal with. They say, if you're feeling stuck, if your finances are not moving, that means your energy center of your root is not connected. What they call chakras, the energy centers. So what it deals with is you're unblocking that energy so that you're able to actually express yourself in the way God intended. So with the meditation, the yoga, and certain other practices, you're able to unlock and tap into all that other energy that has been hidden or at least closed down by your limiting beliefs learned from your background. So that's when I got to realize, okay, the hypersexuality is coming from the womb. Now, for actually, I think all sexes, but I'll talk about women because that's what I know. Our creative power is in the womb. If your womb is tampered with, it's hard for you to put out good work. Physically and realistically, yes. But also, all creative ideas stem from our sexual areas. That's why for men, they talk about semen retention. That is, you have to protect your sperm because it is what that's where your power comes from. That's what they talk about. So if you tap into the whole male reproductive system, you're able to channel all that sexual energy and transmute it into something that is worthwhile. So for women, it's the same thing. Like it's even easy. Like when you learn to tap into that, you find yourself saying no easier, establishing boundaries. We grow up in a society which makes saying no a crime. Because as you say no, it's like, did you just say no? But it's necessary. It's necessary, especially if you're being approached by people every day. Like, hey, I like you. You say, oh, thank you. And somebody will expect you to be like, I like you too. But if I've not known you enough, if I feel like we don't resonate mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, and the best thing that I can say for people out there is that there's a match for what you want out there. There's now 8 billion people in the world. Because that doesn't mean you keep hunting.
That's some sort of consolation.
It's not a consolation.
Because then we would not feel the way we feel when we get into like heartbreaks. Yeah.
What is a heartbreak?
Things would not end. Like you'd probably meet a soulmate but yeah, nothing is guaranteed,
The way life goes. That's it. Like at the end of the day, acceptance without attachment.
So imagine I had a strong love in like senior O-level time and that got broken. How do you then convince me that I have to find that I'll have there'll be a match for me in the future or whatever God decides?
Okay. It starts from, do you want the love? Like sometimes one thing I realize with people who are also healing from heartbreak, I've also experienced it with the girls who I train, like the whining. They come trying to fix something. Like, oh, my boyfriend didn't rate me. I'm here to show him that I'm sexy, I'm fire. And I'm like, okay, are you doing it for you? Do you want this as much as you want your boyfriend to see it? Because people are people. You can't control them. If somebody decides one day, they wake up and they say, I'm sorry, but I don't want anything to do with you anymore. It hurts. Hell, it hurts. I think we've all been there.
It hurts so much.
I haven't exactly been rejected before. Really? I don't think so. But I have had to move on from relationships or connections that were not serving me because it hurt like so badly to be friends or like close to those people. So it's like, is this making me
You've not even
happy?
been rejected from a job?
No. Every job I wanted, I got. Yeah, I blessed. That's all I can say.
Nice one.
But yes, whenever I had to end a connection because it was hurting both of us, it would hurt. But the thing is, do you want to move on? Some people don't like to move on. The victim mentality kills so many of us because it's like, I love being a victim. People love being in pain. Poor people love being poor. Broken people love being broken. Because the comfort of being in that position is better than the curiosity of exploring what's ahead, what's outside of the space you're in. Because you tell somebody, are you ready to do what you have to do to be a person who's worthy of love? And what is that? You have to first fix your shit. Lose of course, retain the memories, the lessons you learned from what happened, but don't attach the emotions to your whole life. Because sometimes it's like, oh, he broke my heart. I'll never find love again. If you keep affirming that, you truly never will. People who are worthy of love say good things about themselves. They say, I'm worthy of love. I deserve love. They act in ways that are so deserving of love. They put themselves out there in ways that celebrate love. In that if somebody comes to say hi to you, you're not like, you. It's like, oh, hi, how are you? You have conversations. Because you don't know, that could also be your soulmate, right? But then also establish a criteria. What kind of person do you want to attract? Do you want somebody who who's funny, who's creative, who's calm. Once you tick right down like all the qualities, me, that's what I stand by, because you can't attract what you're not sure of. That's it.
When you write down qualities and you have to tick, you're going to tear a whole textbook. I'm telling you.
I wouldn't.
You know, people can put up a show.
Oh yeah. Recently, I met this man who he has been married with his wife for 20 years.
Put up a show.
She doesn't know the real him.
Exactly.
And I was so shocked.
In 2017, I belonged to a clique, Black Bottle Boys. So I was doing a lot of their digital stuff.
Black Bottle Boys?
Yeah. So they were splashing money around bars in Kampala. We were doing that on a wave literally every other weekend. In fact, I got off that clique because most of them were mugged up people. They wanted like that shop, and I hated gym. So the leader, Fred, always pushed us. Paid for my gym for about 2 years, I think.
That is dope.
But I still fell for it. So, in that time, I realized that people really can put up a show. The guy that was spending the most on alcohol was not drinking alcohol.
Really?
Yeah, but he loved to put up a vibe for everyone else, whatever reasons he had. Now, he had 2 different lives in the same country at the same time.
Wow, and Uganda is small, by the way.
Yes, but he could handle that. He had a family life that he puts out with a wife he goes back to every day, and he had all this nightlife, Kampala, socialite life. Like, of course, he was really so smart. He knew bloggers, so his name
was
like
clean.
Yeah, killed. You'll see pictures of some guy working out and like a night out, but then he could leave that. So he could manage to put up a show for the wife every single day, and a show for all these other bitches every other single day.
Damn.
And he could perfect it for all the time we lived.
Yeah.
So when you pick qualities, and for the things I have seen from parents of my friends, and you know, like you be there, you're wondering, this guy has it all good. Before you know it, there's like a chick who's coming with a baby, blah, 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 blah. Things happen, right?
Yeah,
like it happens.
of course.
And it really happened. But this is someone you are sure of. This guy.
They're set.
They're set. They have it all going through. Like, so when you go to ticking, that's where I'm so scared of people. Like, you don't know what someone wants. Like, someone can just really go into your vibe for a whole year, and they'll do it.
Well, I think, like I said, life doesn't come with a manual. It's part of it. Because there is settling for the chaff or the riffraff that you're seeing around just because you're trying to be accommodating. And then there's also having an idea of what you want in a partner or a friend.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Having an idea of what you want.
And the idea is in the list.
I feel like I always get bored.
What bores you exactly?
When I have to tick off characters of someone. Like, I want to get into someone, then the energy sinks.
Yeah.
And I feel like, okay,
of course.
yeah.
And okay,
energy.
I do get that. I think the idea is, it comes down to knowing who you are.
But if you have to tick, then you have to compare to so many. You're like, but I also met this other person who has like 3 of these qualities, and this is
not really. It all comes down also to energy. Like, energy doesn't lie, you know what they say. And for people who also, you know, our energy or gut is what tells us if somebody else resonates. So for most of us, let's say for people who work out, they have good sensors, because the core is what determines. You see somebody with a good core, you can tell that this person kind of makes good decisions depending on who they are. So if you've worked on your gut, your instinctual system, and you know how to relate, like, is this person good? Is this person not good? It's easier for you to know somebody who is a friend, somebody who is more than a friend. And then it's easier for you to also make the decision to get into a serious thing with them. But also, we have to remember to love without attachment. We lose people every day. We lose people every time. So if we keep loving them with this thing of you're mine, I'm possessing you, that's when it hurts.
That's so hard. You know, it's like people who say there's such a thing as unconditional love. Not even your parents can love you unconditionally.
Of course not. I mean, you know the black tax where it's like, I paid your fees, so like, my guy, where is this?
What's up?
Yeah, there is that, and truly, it's hard to fathom the idea of unconditional love.
Even if you're not paying black tax, by the way, like, your parents will just naturally get disappointed if, say, they paid your school and they wanted you to become a lawyer, and now you're not a lawyer. And I've even seen guys who turn out and they're musicians and they're successful. But
yes, but their parents
this guy only loved me because they expected me to be a lawyer.
Yeah, to make them proud.
Like to them, that was all that
vision.
matters.
Yeah.
The selfish aspect in human beings is so brutal that it doesn't skip anyone. It could be your lover. And this happens. I think one of the worst things to me is realizing that I was never ready for my best relationship.
Interesting. Is it still on?
No.
Oh.
It ended a million years ago. But yeah, the fact that I was never ready for that is so bad.
How so?
Because how then do I get ready? Like, I'm scared I'll never be ready for anyone because I felt like that was the best.
That was it. Yeah.
That is all I wanted. Like, if it's a list, this was a tick for everything I wanted.
Yeah.
And then that crashed. So now it's more about the energy syncing with someone.
Yeah. I do get that. Mm-hmm. Even for me, I can't really fathom, like, if we broke up with my boyfriend, it's like, I'm gonna be one of those single women that travel the world. Because I can't try to imagine somebody else that passes the vibe check. But then...
It happens.
It happens. Know, yeah? You have to give yourself that allowance of, maybe I have to be single for a couple of years. People are not used to being single. They can't be alone. Like, you have a friend who's always, like, calling you and they're like, hey, man, where are we going? And you're like, bro, can you stay home, touch some grass, read a book, get to know yourself? And when you get to know yourself, it's easier to then get into your next best relationship. Because, like you said, you don't see them coming. Even me. I can't even put a finger to the day we started dating. Because it's like, what? Before you know it, you're in it. You guys are happy. And, okay, it's really sad that you lost that because, damn.
Yeah. It's not really sad.
I
feel like I'm ready for very many other things in life, yeah? Like, also, I am a strong believer of there's constant pain in life, yeah? The only reason I use my body weight to work out and not go to the gym is just for that. Like, I have to deal with my own pain every single day.
It's the balance, yes. That's truly it. Because, okay, I feel this is the problem I find with the way we are raised here in Uganda. Most of us have to mentor ourselves, especially mentally. And it's the school of life, which means you have to keep studying. You have to keep reading books, endorsing good content so that at least you can elevate your mind. But most people don't like to read.
Yeah.
You'll meet somebody and you tell them, oh, I just read this book. And they're like, why are you reading? Who's making you suffer like that? But it's necessary.
It's very necessary.
So most of us don't raise ourselves. Because after school, you have to take out all that other stuff that was not so relevant. Those Canadian prairies kind of have to go, and then it's replaced with, let's say, money saving tips. We need to now school ourselves, and that's what some people really don't do, and yet it's very necessary. Because then, when you learn to school yourself, you're able to also learn to navigate certain matters, like matters of the heart. You're able to tell yourself, okay, this happened. You're able to steer your relationships in a way that's very interesting and beneficial for both parties involved. Because the thing about love is you don't just wake up one day and you know everything. No, you have to teach yourself how to love.
I feel like we can only be allowed to love when we learn how to manage our emotions.
That is very key. That is so important.
But then emotions are like, it's hard. You don't know how you're going to deal with emotions.
Emotions can be schooled. That's what I think. Yeah, because let's say...
How do you deal with stress?
Stress. Well, first, I cry. That's one of my first releases. At first, I used to be so embarrassed about it. And I would be like, oh God, I can't cry. Big girls don't cry. You know the anthem. But it's like, no, that's my body. She's tired. She needs a break. So you cry, and then you put yourself into something you love to do. And for me, it's dance or writing. Yeah, I happen to do a couple of blogs here and there. So I put myself into that, like, let's journal and see what is going on. And within hours, it's clear. One thing about our emotions is that they're like messengers. They're trying to show you something. So let's say you're feeling guilt, and it's like killing you. It's basically just showing you what you should not do again. So when we start embracing our emotions as friends, as messengers, it gets easier to deal with them. Because sometimes it's like, oh shit, I fucked up. You get depressed about it. And the mind keeps on replaying. It's our mind that really blocks us, I think.
Yeah.
Because you get into your head so much. And the thing is, it's okay to replay it, but don't feel that emotion again. Because then you're just hurting yourself. So it's like, oh, you fucked up, okay. But are you going to keep that reminder? Are you going to keep reliving that memory? It's not easy, especially the older we get. Life starts to feel kind of like, this is it. I get this is it moments lately.
Are you good on forgiving people? On forgiveness?
This is so funny because I don't believe in forgiveness. Yeah, because if you're saying you're forgiving someone...
Are you that angry with life?
No, it's not that I'm angry. Hear me out. If you're forgiving someone, it means you're judging them for what they did to you. That means you've said they did something wrong. So you have to forgive them. But when you forget it, when it's like, okay, you did that, and I've learned not to like deal with you like that. Like when somebody says sorry, most people don't even reply when you apologize. Just recently at my job, same thing. I was like, I did something a bit not right, and I was so apologetic, but nobody was giving, like nobody cared, because they're like, so people don't read forgiveness anymore. It's more of forgetting and act right. That's what I believe. Like, I'm gonna forget what you did, but if your actions after this don't match up with what you've said you are going to do or fix, then what's the point?
Forgiveness is meant to be for you.
You forget, you let it go. Like, is forgiveness synonymous with letting things go?
Do you give people chances?
I like to think I give people chances.
You can't give people chances without forgiving them, because as a people in general, we make so many mistakes. So you must learn to you see, to me, it's more about I can be in that situation. Yeah? I can be the next guy.
Like, it could be me, yes.
Definitely. It could just be me. Like, there's nothing special about you, yeah?
Exactly.
Ordinary people, really.
That is why you forget it.
Forgetting, no. Like, I know at the back of my head, no, this chick, she did this. So, but I can really risk. Yeah, I'm a big risk taker. I convince myself that I'm a big risk taker because I believe that's how I'll win much more in life.
Of course.
But also, my last name, Wamala, is so dope to think about. Like, it gives you the confidence of, you know what? You've finished this. You just have to do it and you'll finish. Like, at the back of
that.
Yeah.
Do you believe in people embodying the names given to them at birth?
Yeah. I like my name so much. When they were writing about this production house, the writer felt the need to add, well, it's more like my name, but it's not my name. So Matov is like a family name. Yeah, we used it for the company. So they put it on my name, Mark Keron Wamala Matov. I called them, I'm like, yo, please change that. Please just leave to Wamala. Like, yeah. I want to be the first of my kind to just stop it there. So, yeah, I believe the name has some power to it.
Yes.
It has also kept me like, yo, life has been tricky.
It's been crazy, honestly.
So getting through it to this level without that kind of mentality is hard. Because everything happens in the mind, yeah?
It does.
So if you have to like get your mind right first, then you go through life. But I am strong on you have to learn to forgive people for yourself.
Okay, I get
for
that.
For yourself, because once you do that, then you can give them another chance. And once you understand, and you know, people really don't give people chances. They
don't? Well, I think when you forget what they've done.
At jobs, colleagues, people keep that anger, like, I know this happened, so they can't do it. Like, you borrow someone's car and knock a border, yet the border was really, 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 really the stupid one. You couldn't control it. If it was them in that moment driving, they would face the same problem. But then they'll still not forgive you for that. They'll probably not give you another chance at something. Yeah. Well, they'll treat your mistake like they're God.
Yeah. Now. And now that you've said that, forgiveness comes with judgment. In that, in order for you to forgive that person, you said they did something wrong. And that is according to your scale of righteousness, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, if I'm forgiving somebody, I'm not going to say, oh, I forgive you. Like, yes, that would mean I'm just asserting my self-righteous dominance. But it's really a matter of me accepting that you're human. Like, okay, you messed up and what you did doesn't really resonate with what I like. So it's okay. Let's let that go. Like, it's not that I'm saying, oh, it's cool, you're forgiven. No, it's sort of, we have let that go, what you've done, and now we can move on. But if it keeps happening, that means a person can't change, or they are stuck in a certain space. And if it's so detrimental to my existence, I'm not going to force it. I'm just going to tell you, girl or boo, I like you, but it's not helping.
Do you need a lot of self-care?
I used to, especially during lockdown. Oh, I was a junkie, because really, I feel like that was the era. But then sometimes it borderlines with, you can keep consuming the theory, but you forget to get practical. Yeah. So there are stages in my life. I try to do it at least once a month, maybe, like in a quarter. I do one self-care book, one self-help book. Then the rest, it's either autobiographies or it is stories. I'm now diving deep into African literature and I'm having the time of my life. I love how Africans tell their stories. I feel like we are the best storytellers. No offense to everyone else. But it's like we really tapped in because there's so much to tell about where we come from. So to see a writer pick out just a story.
Tell me about, now that you're an African and you're a very good storyteller, tell me about the ginger culture. Two things that stereotypes, of course, I've had. Growing up, my friends tell me the Basoga women, for them, their sex is good.
Yes.
There's that popular stereotype. Do you believe in those things?
I don't really feed into stereotypes because everyone is different, really. And if, let's say, Basoga women are very good in bed because of the water, it's like there are so many other women out there. That's what I've had, because those are the questions people come to ask me. And me, I don't really get that essence because I've not been with another Musoga woman. So I don't know where your perception is coming from. So
the water thing is also... The time I've had sex with someone that has water has been both very bad and very good. Like, first the excitement.
Yeah.
Then the discomfort of, okay, now you make my bed.
What?
And I don't know this.
Yeah, and I have friends who actually do it for that very purpose. People have evolved at certain rates. Some people, sex is the center of their existence. At the end of the day, it comes down to sex, which is good for you. Like, okay, do you? But then other people have now realized that there is more to life than sex. It's just another factor. If there are 5 fingers on the hand,
it's one of the 5.
Yes, because then there is life. One of the 5. There is wellness. It's of course one of the 5. It's one of the quickest channels for you to tap into who you truly are. That's just it. And that's why people are advised to have sex that is healing and progressional.
What is sex that is healing? That's a song, I think.
It's a myth. Okay. Well, at first I used to also say, what is that? So I went for a couple of classes on sex health, because if you're going to have a conversation about something, you also need to be educated about it.
Totally agree.
Yeah. So this lady, they brought in a spiritual lady, and she heals people who can't give birth and stuff like that by the blockages they have in their wombs. So I asked her, I'm like, people say healing sex. What is that about? Because I'm also trying to be like those people. I'm trying to also do big things. And she said, sometimes, I'm sure you've heard of soul ties. Let's move away from the STIs and let's say having sexual relations with people who have other physical connections. For women, it's a very emotional game. It's so emotional. So many women dismiss it, but at the end of the day, it's there, that emotional connection. Especially if somebody made you get an orgasm. You're going to think about them. When the other person goes back to his wife or his girlfriend, you're going to feel at loss because that means they didn't choose you. Now that's a blow to your self-esteem. But let's move away from self-esteem. Let's move to, there's something called tantric sex. Now when we're breathing, it's called like prana, but then there's like tantra. So it's basically the energy along our spines. And our spine is what connects all our energy centers. And that's why you see when people who get accidents and their spines get an issue, they're down for life. Like, that's it. Unless there's some new invention. But I've not seen anybody get back from that.
Yeah.
So we have the root, we go into the sacral energy center, we get into the solar plexus, then the heart, then the throat, then we get to the third eye, and then the crown. Our spine connects all of it. So the root connects to our womb. Where we have sex, that is the sacral energy chamber. So if you're being penetrated by somebody who is not right in their head, who's not right in their body, who's not right in their mind, who doesn't have the best intentions for you,
It flows to you?
It flows through you naturally.
No.
That's just, trust me, energy is real. Like, it's a real thing. Of course, people say, nah, that's just hypothetical. But then tell me this. Let's give an example of, okay, we'll start with nature. Yeah? You've seen the moon. We see a full moon. Now, in folklore, it's like, oh, the werewolves are coming out. But at the ocean and the river, the tide rises.
Yeah.
And with the tide rising, there are floods in some places, hurricanes in others. So you're telling me the same moon that shines upon us human beings, there's no difference in our persona. There's no change in our bodies. So something that may seem insignificant as the moon, you're telling me the physical connection I have with somebody is also not going to tamper with what is happening inside me.
Apart from the STIs, UTIs, no. Because then that is magic. Like, you're saying some sort of soul is moving into you.
What is magic?
Unreal.
Something that's unreal. Right. So people consider, let's say, miracles as magic. Like, it's only God that can make these things happen.
Do you believe in miracles?
I do believe in miracles. Man.
Have you experienced a miracle?
I think to wake up every day is a miracle in itself.
Yeah, that is self-talk motivation.
Of course, yeah. Yes, definitely. But like talking about like realistically, like get away from all what people are calling the hoodoo, and let's say face to face, you want to see somebody like levitating. I don't think I've experienced something like that. But there are moments in my life where I went through things. Just Christmas over here, I had to take a break from radio because I got an attack. I've not gotten one like that in about 7 years. But all of a sudden, I could not breathe. Like, my lungs actually just... nothing. Imagine you have your body and it's not cooperating. And you're like, what? Luckily, I was with my family. So my dad did the most. Made sure that I was in hospital on time. Oh, that man. Like, wow. He was really my hero. He is my hero. And in that moment, there was a moment in between where I felt like this was it. Where it's like, if I don't keep fighting for my life, I can easily, like, give up and cross over. But I was at peace because I was like, man, I'm with my people. So to get to hospital and finding, it was Christmas Day, but finding the doctors in, that was a miracle in itself for me. So I was like, yo, like, great things really do happen. Like, what if this person had gone for a leave or they'd taken a break off?
So anyway, back to like the whole thing. If there was like some sort of energy transfer,
yes,
it would mean if people are sleeping with successful people, they
would also automatically become
there's a bigger
successful.
chance that they're going to be successful.
I think if it's consistent, it's possible. Because that's it. Consistent action is what brings results, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you look at successful couples. They may have their issues, but these people have been together for a long time. They've been having sex together for a long time. I mean, of course, there's so many other factors that come into play. But for most men, especially married men who have become successful, it's kind of accredited to the partner they had at that point in time. A woman may come and replace, let's say, those little roles. Let's say you no longer have to care about your laundry. You no longer have to care about meals because she's taking over. You no longer have to care about all these petty things. But then also, who are you coming back to at the end of the day? Who are you lying next to? Who are you lying inside in? It's like peace of mind. If it's a woman's womb and it's been tampered with and it carries so much pain and anger, it's very easy for you to also become an angry person. That's what I believe.
That's true.
It's very easy because that's what you're tapping in every time. So if this is a person who's all about your well-being, success, she has a positive mindset, she has a drive, she's accomplished, or at least in her mind she's accomplished, she's so nurturing, it's very easy for you to get up the next day, shower, and step out like a warrior. You go out there and make things happen because of the energy you slept in at night. So
the modern person will look at that as you being a submissive woman and not playing that role. But people forget how important such things are.
it's a balance. That's what I think the balance is. You're going to find at the end of the day, there are women that don't like doing that, and their partners understand. Personally, even me, it took me some time to grow into my feminine role because I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. But with time, you start enjoying your meal times. You start enjoying to cook. You start enjoying to, I don't do laundry. I take it to the laundromat. But you start enjoying taking care of yourself. And naturally, we women, we have a nurturing bone in us. Naturally. That's why there are certain ages where women just decide, I want a baby. That's it. She just wants somebody to hold, somebody to cuddle, kiss, something like that. So it's only natural. And if you meet a gentleman or a man who is also matching up on his end of the masculine energy and is providing and protecting, trust me, it is so easy for a woman to give in. But it all comes down to the gut. If a woman's gut is off and she's like, this person doesn't deserve it, most times, at least 9 times out of 10, they don't.
When you listen to Beyonce, you think otherwise. You know, at this point, she's very married.
Yeah.
And she's talking about how single her lifestyle is.
Did you listen to Lemonade, her album before Renaissance?
Yeah. But not so much.
You can hear a wife. And in the songs, like, this is a woman who nurtures her husband. You can tell. And that's why she was so hurt and betrayed when Jay-Z cheated. Because she was like, I was up all night long. I'm making sure you're fed, you're clean, you're doing what you have to do to be the great man you are. And this is what I get for being that girl.
We're not sure of her as well, you know. So
I mean, like I said, it's really gray screens. Like, you don't know what's going on. But since we're talking about Beyonce and how she says, and remember, it's also business. She has to put out music that's relevant to the brand she has created. So sometimes we honor these celebrities, we want to follow them and emulate them, but we forget that these are people. They have their own side story going on. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt. Everything, because it's not real. None of it
totally
is.
agree. So the culture. Tell me about the culture in Ginger.
Right. Ginger is a slow city. I love it.
And is it Ginger? Everyone loves Ginger. You can't spend a whole year without going to Ginger if you're in Uganda.
True. And growing up there, the whole place is residential. Unlike Kampala, where you can't stay in certain areas because of noise or the pubs or the traffic, the whole of Ginger is a residential area. And people there are very calm. Basoga are very calm people. Interesting. The conversations you hear are so amusing. And it's hard to find violent people. Of course, there are those individuals, but people are very calm. It's a place for most people where you're just connecting. You're connecting with nature. It's where the source of the Nile is, which means you're tapping into that abundant flow. The air is always fresh. Always fresh. You're taking a breath in Ginger and it's like your system is cleansed. So,
did you grow up from there?
Yes. All my life I've been in Ginger. It's only now that I came to Kampala to work.
Did you really feel like there's a difference in the air?
Yes. Oh my God. If you get a camera and take a picture like from a high point in Kampala, there's like a little level that has brown air, gray brownish air. It's dust and smoke and fog. It's pathetic. I'm always irritated. I'm really always irritated because I feel like we as Ugandans, we're in the Pearl of Africa. We can do better. We are trying to
do better in terms of what?
Away.
What? Climate change?
Climate change, yes, but also we have
carbon emissions.
The best, yes. We have.
Can we really emit very little?
We emit little, but it starts like this. It starts like
here's
this.
The argument here is our little, right? It doesn't count if the match is not being worked on. So if everyone else that is contributing, all these guys that are going to space are not working on anything, it doesn't make sense for us to actually do something.
I think that's like the worst mentality to ever have in this world.
No,
like
for
just
the
because
world, yes,
somebody
but
out there.
no, for this specific cause of carbon emissions, that's the only way it has to work.
I'm not even addressing carbon emissions per
Yeah.
se. I'm just addressing the fact that we are in a green country and we have the best climate. We have, I think, in Africa, we rank top for having some of the best climate that is very good for most kinds of plants, trees, and crops. So you're hoping to see, let's say, greener rooftops, because now that's the route China is taking, because they have really ridden the country down, and now they have to start doing vertical growth. And that is something Kampala can tap into as soon as possible. Because when you go out, when you go to Mukono, you go to Jinja, you go to northern Uganda, it's clean. You're going to take pictures. The sky is clear. Of course, yeah, people say, yeah, but the sky is blue. You can see it. It's blue. But it's like, okay, but until when? More buildings are popping up. More semi-constructed roads are popping up. The roads are so poor. They just keep releasing dust. There is no issue that's being worked on, really. At the end of the day, it's just reversing. You might as well leave the road maram if that's what we are doing, because they are really poor. It irritates me, honestly.
As a taxpayer,
Trust me, irritates. Because it's like, where's the money going, boo? Like, because even
so hard.
I know it's a very complicated.
There's nothing
one.
you can do. Then you're just going to feel bad about it all the time when you think about it.
Yes, and
it's
quite depressing. Yeah, because one time, just during Christmas season, the accidents. Oh my God!
I feel like though you see something about radio. You people on radio do.
Yes.
Of course, your business is to sell lies. That's
media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to understand. I hosted Bush Baby right up at Quid's Vision Group. So Bush Baby told us the stories. You see these stories, they read out, this girl's boyfriend lost Smanya, they caught him cheating, to get like the engagement.
Yes.
All these are made up scenarios. It's never happening in real life. Like there's a curator, a programs director that comes up with a really fake scenario and then
you feed yourself into the situation.
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't forget where I was bringing the question from because it was so dope. But
no, but I do get that. It's part of media. Even as well was studying it in campus, that was it. It's like you have to sensationalize the news. You have to sell an emotion. Media is all about selling emotions. And that is why they tell people stop listening to the news. I'm not even saying that as a bad person, but even as we're learning the ethics of journalism, they said that, like, if you have high moral ground, high moral standing, do not engage. Because you're going to reach there and they're going to tell you to push a story, to push a narrative.
So now remember, so when it comes to news, they can decide to push a narrative, like you just said.
Yeah, there's a fragment of truth. It could be a story that has happened.
Yeah, like the accidents, they happen.
They do happen.
But they
then
focus
they'll
on
fix
that
it
in that time, yeah, exactly. And it will look like, oh my God, you can't even move. Yes. Yet accidents happening right now in real time.
Everywhere. Yeah. Yes, they do.
So
happen.
There's that. So the Christmas thing, I feel like the media just focuses on that. It's like
no,
when
this
MTV
I saw with my eyes. Like I was going back home to Jinja for Christmas, and I actually even wrote it because I do a blog where I try to document my life in real time, and to God, I saw 10 accidents from between Kampala to end of Mukono, like getting into, I think, Lukazi.
In one day, 10.
Christmas, that day,
you are
either a flipped car.
Wait, it was 25th itself?
Like, I went on 24th. I went on Christmas Eve. That's when I traveled. But there was something. Crashed car. A border has been mangled. Something. But they were always next to a pothole. A mega pothole. Like, big ass. I was irritated. Like, and this was not the first time.
I'm really convinced the guys that design our roads also own spare parts.
Crack.
No, they sell spare parts. They just want to make business.
Oh, yes.
And whatnot.
That's what somebody actually said recently. They said, if you're going to keep the roads the way they're looking, then at least lower the price because it's not making sense anymore. Which means it's affecting everyone, whether you're a pedestrian, whether you're a cyclist, or you actually are driving a car, you're experiencing the negative aspects of our roads. Even health-wise, people, I know like most of those cities where there is economic growth is because also the being of the area, the environment people are growing up in is good. it's aesthetically pleasing to be in those cities, and therefore the production levels are very high. People are encouraged to keep going to work. They're already smooth. Okay. The facilities, let's say you want to get a drink, you can just park, get a drink. But here, oi.
Is there like a traditional dance for Basoga? Like you see
Kadodi.
Uganda? Ah.
Yes, Kadodi. That is our traditional dance.
Kadodi is for the Mbale people.
I think they blend, really. It's the same drum beat, same thing. It's what we all do, Eastern side.
Do you dance all the culture dances?
Yes, I love to feel like I got a hand into everywhere. Yeah, I'm
because you pass for looking like a Motoro.
Just yesterday somebody said that, and I'm thinking, what? But people, it goes both ways. Some people send me to Rwanda, others Western.
Yeah, you
others...
passed Rwanda, I think.
Interesting.
You passed Toro.
Basoga, all the way through and through.
Same mom, same dad. Like
they're all Basoga.
All your blood.
True. Like, actually, I think we go back like 3 generations. Yeah.
Culture, what's so beautiful about your culture that you want to share it with us, with our listeners?
I think it's the movement, the Chisoga movement. Yes. Of course, culture has been watered down. We've seen a lot of blending, and we're seeing urban culture seeping in somewhere. But the essence of the Chisoga culture lies in hospitality. It lies in being able to host people in such a way that they feel like they're so welcome. And that's why I think it was so easy to colonize African countries, because that's one thing we all carry to the core. And the Basoga also, the entertaining aspect. Why I got into dance in the first place is to entertain and make people happy. If a visitor comes into your home, it was your role to entertain them. Like, you get up, dance, drum a beat, sing songs. That's really what our culture is about. It's about happiness, love, hospitality, and welcoming people, making them feel like they belong.
Okay, I'll ask you the great last question. What legacy are you trying to leave behind?
Well, I do believe that as a creative, it is my duty to express in ways people may have not experienced before. And in doing this, it's showing young girls out there, and even boys, really, it's an open thing, that their art is something that is valuable. And even if the people around you may not be giving you the validation that you feel you need or require, there are spaces out there where you truly belong. And without your gift, without your expression, there's going to be a big hole because you didn't do what you had to do. Of course, I have to see myself on international stages and spaces. Like, that is the goal. I'd love to show people that there is more to creative directing and helping brands also implement art and expression into their processes. That way, I feel that would be my sole purpose, really.
How much are you involved in the creative process?
Deeply. That's all I can say.
How much do you go ahead and edit your videos?
Do
you do all that stuff?
I am quite good at editing because I studied it, but also it comes out to
what software?
The time. If you can at least cut down the time you could do with a project by doing it with somebody else, I believe in collaborations. So I usually seek out artists or other creatives that are doing something that appeals or aligns with what I'm also doing, and then we work on projects together. That way, a project that you could have sat on for a couple of weeks is finished in a week or less because all of you rationed out that work and you made it happen.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I feel like we sidetracked so much, but I'm so happy to be here.
You can come back anytime, by the way. I like to have double conversations with people.
Yes.
People becoming regulars. And the content. Now we can just talk about that off the podcast.
Okay.
Thank you for this.
Wow.
This was long.
I'm sorry. How long did we take?
I had fun listening to you.